What is up, my guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, hello. If you are returning, welcome back. My name is grubbz, and I make Eternal Return content geared mostly towards new players. But as you can see from the title of the video, this is not necessarily for my Eternal Return players. This is for my League of Legends players that are trying to figure out whether or not Eternal Return is worth it for them. I am sure we are all aware by now that a certain League of Legends streamer has decided to dip their toes into the proverbial Eternal Return waters, and every once in a while on the Eternal Return Reddit, I see posts popping up from people that play League that are trying to join in on Eternal Return, and they don't really know how to make that transition very well. I am happy to help you with that. I was somebody that played League of Legends for 12 years. I have a lot of experience with it. I now have a little bit of experience with Eternal Return, and I am more than happy to help assist you in trying to forge your new path on Lumia Island. Normally, I would try to keep my intro very, very brief, but in this context, I have to put a disclaimer out there for you players that are trying to figure out whether or not Eternal Return is good for you. And this is kind of what I can tell you as somebody that transitioned from League to Eternal Return. Eternal Return has a tremendous learning curve. If you try to go into this game thinking that you can fight combat like League, or that you just need your gear in order to be successful, you are missing the point of the game, and unfortunately it is going to be a bigger struggle for you. I am going to do what I can to break it down as easily as possible as somebody that also made the transition from League to ER. I'm not gonna lie to you, Eternal Return is a hard game to learn and an even harder game to master. It's not impossible, and once you learn it, it is tremendous fun. In fact, I haven't really gone back to League since I've started playing Eternal Return. So, if you are interested and that hasn't scared you off, then let's just dive into it. Let's talk about the differences between League of Legends and Eternal Return. I think it's best for me to start off with what makes the game so hard. It's very easy to summarize League of Legends in a single video when it comes to the core gameplay. Pick a character, go to lane, win lane or lose lane. Make sure that you're keeping up with your farm, make sure that you take their towers until you can get their inhib, take their inhib, take nexus, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. There's more obviously that goes into the game. You have dragon management, you have also jungle management, all kinds of stuff that comes in between, but the truth of the matter is that is the core gameplay of League, right? Take towers, take nexus, make sure you shit on your opponents as much as possible in the process, try to snowball your character and get your gear further along. Unfortunately, when it comes to Eternal Return, there are so many other variables that come into play because, number one, the map isn't static, it changes every single time with zones going out, so you're not honestly following the same path every single time you play it. Number two, the team size difference actually is massive. In League of Legends, you have 5 teammates. In comparison, Eternal Return only has 3 teammates to a squad, therefore the responsibility on your shoulders to participate in a team fight and contribute is actually much, much higher. For number 3, gauging how strong you are in League of Legends kind of is based off of what gear you have and what your character level is. Eternal Return runs on a very similar system where you still have your character level and your gear that dictates how strong you are, but there is a third passive stat called your mastery levels that comes into play when it comes to gauging how strong you are. Your mastery level is probably one of the hardest things to understand, but I do have a way to break it down for you so it's very easy, and I have it in another video if you are willing to learn more of the basics of the game. Number 4, even though at a glance the combat looks exactly the same as League of Legends, I promise you it is not. Yes, you are doing QWER combat, you are top-down isometric. The combat of Eternal Return is very different pacing-wise than it is from League of Legends. League of Legends, it's usually very quick, it's very bursty, and it's done. It's very rare that you can get bursted down in Eternal Return if you play the game wisely. I have said this before, and I think it is the best way to explain it. The combat in Eternal Return is a dance. You cannot just go in all in on your opponent or you will get bursted down and you will die. The best chances for you is to actually poke and play with your opponent and try to bait out cooldowns and try to get the upper hand on your opponent before you dive in. On top of that, your cooldowns are much faster in Eternal Return and you have way bigger of a mana pool, which allows you to spam your abilities a little bit more. While this sounds like it would be a detriment, it's actually not too bad and makes the game way more fun and way more viable. Instead of you pressing Q and you bursting down your opponent to a quarter of their health, instead you will have to actually outplay them versus the fact of you just hiding in a bush and dumpstering on them. It was actually really shocking to go back to League and feel how sluggish the game felt in comparison to Eternal Return. Eternal Return's combat just feels smoother, cleaner, and more fun and more action-packed without feeling like I got cheated by somebody pressing 2 buttons and me instantly dying. My 5th and final big key difference is actually the fact that every character is viable in Eternal Return. One of the big reasons why I didn't want to play play League anymore is because I didn't try to cater to the meta and I never wanted to cater to the meta. I don't understand why you would have so many crazy, cool characters that are so much fun to play if only 6 of them are going to be seen in almost every single game because they're so strong in comparison to the rest of the cast. Eternal Return is constantly tweaking their characters, and they notice that if somebody starts to slip down behind, that they will give them a slight buff in order to see whether or not they can keep up with the current meta and what is happening. They also are very quick to hand out nerfs if a character is simply just outperforming the other characters so that they can keep the game at a relatively neutral balance. It is still possible to play a weaker character in the eyes of the gameplay meta and still be able to perform well on them. There is no reason for you to pick 3 characters that are performing at an extremely high level if you do not like playing them, because that is not necessary. You can play any character and still be able to win a game as long as you know how to play them correctly. Now, I'm sure with those 5 points across, some of you may be wondering, well, what is Eternal Return? Eternal Return is a battle royale with MOBA combat, and it actually feels more like a MOBA than it does a battle royale. You literally are going to fight your way across the map and craft your gear. As you craft your gear, you are going to get stronger and you are going to farm and fight people until you can take first place. Similar enough to League in concept that any League player can come over and learn the basic concept within a certain extent. There are a lot of other factors that go into the game, which I go over in my Basics of Eternal Return if you want to understand what a general game outlook is going to look like. I think one of the hardest things that people are going to have when it comes to transitioning from League to Eternal Return is that the game sense is completely different in Eternal Return. If you know how to read a map in League and you know how often you need to look at the mini-map, you probably need to be doing that twice as much in Eternal Return. There is so much information that the map will give you. You have to be participating in vision. There are so many other factors that come into the game versus walk down lane and hope that somebody doesn't gank you. In League of Legends, you can kind of see the anticipation building up through map movements and through where people are rotating to understand when combat is going to happen. And while Eternal Return has their own form of vision, which by the way, we have a ward that allows you to see bushes from far away, so you can't just get jumped by people in a bush anymore, which hello, how much more information do you need there? It is still very possible that you need to be able to react on a dime because another team has come forward and there haven't been any notifications that they are coming your direction. Usually if I find myself getting jumped by people in a bush in Eternal Return, it's actually on my shoulders and my team's shoulders that we didn't use the vision that was provided to us or the capabilities for us to scout ahead, and therefore we are the reasons why we lost, not the fact that that team was hiding in a bush and they had an unfair advantage. The vision system in Eternal Return is just better. You have CCTVs that give you passive vision if you go and activate them for a minute and a half, and that's really good. You also get paid for doing it, so why not? Every little bit helps. You kill bats, you get cameras, you use them. You can make them into better cameras if you want to. Oh, and every instance of camera minus the CCTV will reveal invisible enemies, so you no longer have to worry about somebody coming up invisible and kicking your ass if you use your cameras defensively. Now, I'm sure you guys will run into the problem that I had in regards to some of the champions in League are just fun. How am I going to find a test subject in Eternal Return that will translate well? For example, I played a lot of Bard. I loved Bard. I would give my left tit for Bard. I love that character, but the problem is that I didn't want to play League anymore. Luckily, the thing that I liked about Bard, i.e. his ultimate, was actually implemented into one of the characters in Eternal Return. I can now play Nathapon and still be able to set up clutch plays by using his ultimate, which is essentially the same thing. Now, to some of you, hearing that the test subjects in Eternal Return are similar to some champion skills in League of Legends might be a turnoff, and that's absolutely acceptable. I totally get that. But I will say that the combat, because it feels differently in Eternal Return, it actually is really nice that there are similar things that kind of translate over. For example, we have a character called Barbara that just went through a rework, and her skills are very similar to Heimerdinger. So if you are interested in playing a Heimerdinger-esque character, Barbara might be a good choice for you. A character named Magnus has a spin to win just like Garen. He is also very tanky and rides a motorcycle, and it's fucking hilarious. We have a character named Estelle that is like a more complex Leona. If you want to play Thresh, just play Lennox. She's a tank that does what Thresh does, but does it infinitely better. Don't worry, my Katarina player, Shuichi is there to make your day just a little bit brighter. You want to play Vayne? Well, we have Isol. When he tumbles, though, he goes invisible every single time. It's not conditional. The closest character we have to Yumi is Charlotte, but she's always targetable unless she dashes, and that dash is not up that frequently, and it's pretty quick as a blink. tank, so, you know, you can kind of poop on her pretty easily. Now, I will say that these kits are a little bit more complex, though, than your League of Legends average kit. Now, I know for a while League was going through the meme of, hey, by the way, you have to read through 3 paragraphs in order to understand their passive. There is a little bit of that in Eternal Return, but once you understand the core concept of the character, it's not very hard, and there are so many great content creators that are making videos that explain these characters. Remember how League was like, no, you can't actually play a character like TF as an ADC or as a mage. You have to kind of pick one or the other because we're going to skew the stats so that you have to play it that way. Well, guess what? Our characters are dependent on their weapons. So a character like Aya that has 3 different weapons to choose from, one of her weapons will make her a traditional ADC with a lot of maneuverability, and she has a fear to allow herself to stay safe. But if you switch her weapon to sniper rifle or to pistol, she actually becomes a mage, and her W becomes empowered and she does a lot of damage. There is a lot of flexibility depending on how you want to play the character. Shu Kai, for example, when he has a spear, is a big, tanky, girthy boy. But if you put the dagger on him, Fat Boy goes invisible and then he can backstab you, and that's funny to watch. No longer is Shu Kai a support tank. When you switch to dagger, he becomes a lethal weapon and becomes this incredible burst mage that also can heal himself with his dumplings. I say this because I want people to understand that there's a lot of freedom and creativity in Eternal Return. There is somebody that has gotten to a very high level by taking a healing character and building her crit, and because he is good enough at the game, he is able to carry himself with it, and that's funny. League used to let you do that, and it doesn't anymore. So while Eternal Return is a much harder game to play, there is a lot of flexibility that allows you to play the game at your own pace and in your own style, which is something that, again, League has kind of forgotten, and now they try to put you in these boxes on how you are supposed to play these characters, and you are rewarded by playing the characters a certain way. The last thing I was going to touch on is actually our battle passes. Our battle passes are much better than League's battle passes, and I'll fight about that all day long. If you buy the first battle pass and you don't spend your NP, which is essentially the RP of Eternal Return, you can actually get enough of it through the battle pass to pay for the next battle pass. So you never have to actually spend money on the game again if you do not want to, if you just get that first battle pass and you don't opt for getting skins. The skins in this game are very reasonable. They are always giving you discounts and event NP in order for you to purchase new skins. I personally have gotten probably 15 skins just based off of the free giveaways that they give. They have skin claim vouchers, they have boxes that you can open things with, and it's pretty easy to get in-game currency. They also just unlocked a personal store where sometimes you can buy skins with in-game currency that you earn just from playing the game. So yes, highly recommend you give Eternal Return a try if that is something that appeals to you. I personally love collecting skins, and being able to do it kind of on a budget is pretty great, though I do try to spend money when I can because I love the game and I do want to support it monetarily. And that is it, my guys. If you are trying to transition from League of Legends to Eternal Return, those are kind of the things you should keep in mind. If you are looking for true gameplay help, I have videos on my channel of that. In fact, I will leave a card up in the top right so that you can kind of see the playlist of my beginner's tips. I already left a card earlier in the video for talking about the basics of Eternal Return, and if you are interested in more information, please leave a comment. I'm more than happy to help, and in fact, I have a whole Discord that I have made simply for Eternal Return players to meet other Eternal Return players, whether you be new, whether you be veterans. We have weekly events, we have monthly events, we have tournaments, we have in-house games. Like, it is all just in celebration of Eternal Return and trying to grow the community and introduce new players to it and give them the help that they desperately need if they desperately need it. I will also leave links to the official Eternal Return Discord and the official Eternal Return Character Hub if you are looking for specific advice or you want to join the official Discord. There you go. All the information will be down there for you. I also will leave a link to DAC.gg. So with League of Legends, we have OP.gg. Well, for ER, we have DAC.gg. It is a great reference tool if you're trying to learn the characters or learn their builds or try to see the stats and whether or not a character is worth playing in your eyes if you are statistically based in your decisions. Don't worry, I will have that link down below for you as well. The last link I will leave for you is I have a reference sheet of characters that I made quite a while ago, so it's a little silly, but at least you'll understand what role every character plays. I have taken every character and put them in different roles, whether it be tank, support, assassin, ADC, that kind of stuff. All of that will be available in the link down below as well, and hopefully it will help you figure out which character you want to play. As always, if you liked my videos, please give it a thumbs up. Every little bit helps with the algorithm. If you have a question or you want me to elaborate on something, please leave a comment. Any little bit of information helps other players as well if you're trying to give advice. If you like what you saw and you want to come along for the ride, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also hit that bell. It gives you a notification every time I upload, and I do post every Saturday, although sometimes I do post in the middle of the week, so if you want to make sure you don't miss anything, you may want to hit that bell notification. And yeah, that's it. Bye!